Okay. Take whatever color you want for your rock. We're gonna go with this gray, kind of bluish gray. Block in your color. I'm gonna make it look like, I don't know, fancier or something. And then you'll, what is that called? Lock alpha? Color alpha? I don't know. You'll basically lock the layer so you can only draw on the thing that you drew. Take whatever brush you have that's like watercolor-esque. Like, it doesn't draw on full opacity. See, so let me go to like a really bright color. It's faded, but when you push down with pen pressure, you know, it's really hard and you can see it more. So like with black, you can see that it's faded right here. And when you draw with more than one stroke, it layers the color. So take whatever brush you have of that. It doesn't matter. Just as long as like you can, as long as it has that pen pressure, basically. So you take your main color, you go slightly darker. That's way too dark. You take your main color of your rock, and you go slightly darker than it, and then you literally just kind of like scribble in. So say your light is coming from this direction. Oops. So the light is hitting that, or the rock over here. You're going to take a slightly darker color. And now based off of where the light's going to hit, you're going to just draw rough shapes. Like, say we'll have like a part right here. So the shadow will be right here. And then you just quite literally scribble it on with not too much pressure. You try to keep that like opacity low because you don't want it to be like super high. And then you quite literally just scribble in wherever you want. It does not matter. I do this literally for like all my rocks. So it doesn't matter. Literally just take wherever you want and just scribble it on. And I mean, I'm going to put some here too, just to show that this surface isn't completely flat right here. So then, once you have your base shadow down, you take a lighter color than your base color. So your base color, go a little lighter, and then you start with the light, and then you just scribble that on wherever. You don't have the opacity super high, and you're not doing complete pen pressure. You're keeping it light, so you get that streakiness, that streaky effect. And, you know, it does look like you can see where the colors are overlapping. That's fine. You can fix that later if you want. And just draw wherever you think light hits the edges. And like, you follow the lines you already put down. So see how I'm like kind of drawing where the lines already are. Basically, these become your guidelines. And see right here how it's already kind of making a defining edge. So when you go in later with more detail if you want, you can follow that edge. Because right here, you already kind of get a good rock texture already. And it's only 3 colors. So scribble in whatever else. Wherever you think light will hit. Wherever you want the cracks to be more enunciated with light. Wherever you want whatever. And then yeah, you do the light. Now, I mean, it depends on what rock type I want, but sometimes I'll go detail into it. But usually I do base color, base shadow, base light color, which was the last step right here. And then I go a little farther with it, and I draw where light's going to hit it the most. That's a little much. That's a little much. Don't be afraid to go back. It doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter. It's the rock. You draw the rock you want the way you want to draw the rock. I'm just going to scribble in some light. I'm going to taper out on the edges a little here, which means I'm getting thinner brush strokes the farther away I get from like the flatter part, because I'm trying to enunciate that this is like flatter right here. compared to this stuff right here, which is a little less light. And then since this rock is kind of going to be in the shadow more, the light's only going to kind of hit up here. So I'm only going to put a little bit of light here. And since this is like going to be under that edge right where this rock is, like right here, that dark border, I'm not going to put too much of this extra light color there. Just some to like communicate that it's bouncing off. I think that's how light works. I don't really know. So then we're going to go to a really dark shadow color, darker than your base shadow was, and you're going to go in and basically put the deepest parts of the shadows or the cracks on the rock. And you just kind of follow whatever lines you already laid out. And as you layer on more and more, it looks more like rock. And if it doesn't, like, you know, practice. And you know, I like rocks, so I like looking at a lot of rocks. So like, I'm not really looking at a reference for this. I'm just making this up in my head. So, you know, it might look like a rock and it might not. But that's okay. You don't have to communicate everything perfectly. So then, you know, over here where we put this in earlier, we're going to go with a deeper color, darker, deeper, whatever. And we're going to enunciate the shadow of this rock right here. And with some cracks, we'll put in some deeper cracks in the rock surface. So that means there's darker shadows there. We'll add just a few more over here. This area's a little untextured because I haven't drawn over it super much. I've been more focusing on like the flat part up above, which is fine. So like I said, you're just following the lines that you already placed down. And literally, rocks like do that. You just draw lines and you get rocks. It's kind of weird. Rocks are like crazy. Anyways, this is what it looks like unblended. Sometimes I will go in with a blender, I'll go in with blur, and I'll blur specific spots where I think it could blend, but it doesn't matter. You can leave it like this. This communicates rock pretty good, I'd say. Along here, I'll blend in this part, but like not too much, because you don't want to lose all this nice texture that you just built up. So you don't want to like blend it too much. Just enough to kind of blur the like some of the edges together, but not a lot. Because like I said, that texture is really what communicates it being a rock more than anything. So go easy on the blurring if you want, of course. You do whatever you want. This is your rock. And then as you get farther away, you can see, yeah, that communicates rock pretty well. And then back here, you know, blurs just some of it, because you don't want to lose that texture. See, right here, this is a good area, because when I run the blur tool over it once, it already makes that nice, like, mixture. So I'm undoing it, so I'm going back over with it. And see how it kind of, like, it just mixes all the colors together, so it doesn't look like it's, I don't know, clashing too much. Like, it doesn't look like a bunch of random lines, I guess. So it looks like it's making this rock texture. And then you just blur wherever you think you need it most. If you want like softer edges, of course, in the rock, you blur it more, but be careful. I'm not sure how the blur tool works in other programs, because I haven't used other programs in a while. But in Krita, if you push down really hard, it just blurs it out entirely. We don't want that. We just want a slight change. We just want it to fade a little bit and blend in together. We don't want to lose, oh my god, all that texture. So we'll keep it real light here, and we'll just go along with the lines. And then here, we'll turn it up a little bit, because we want this shadow to kind of be soft around the edges here. So we'll blur that a little harder. But as we get closer to like the sharp part of the rock right here, we will make it a little less blurry. And we will just run our blur tool over it. And there you go. Of course, it kind of looks funky, but I think this communicates rock okay. Oops, not that. For here, I did the same method for this cliff. I did the same method. For this rock, I literally just slapped a brush onto it. Shut up. Okay. I slapped a brush onto it, which is just real easy for the texture. But I didn't use that method for this. I used it for like this right here. You can see where I drew with the lines. So I went in with this base coat up here, right here, right here. And then I went in with the base shadows, which are these darker lines. And then I did base lighting, which is going to be these right here. And like I said, it's all about layering. You just layer. You don't necessarily worry too much about exactly what you're putting where. Literally, quite literally, just scribble and just make lines. And you will get some rocks. And when you're done, literally, if it doesn't look textured enough, just add more like this, like scribbles right here. And it still has texture. I don't know. That's how I do it. And I've done it for a lot of rocks. Rocky, 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 rocky.